Is there a moment in your past, for good or for bad, that you can pinpoint was the pivotal moment for where and who you are today? If so, what was it and why? When I was in first or second grade, a kid in class accidentally cut me with a pair of safety scissors. I needed to go get stitches and got into a car accident on the way to the doctor's office. And so full of teenagers flew over this blind hill around the corner from my house. They landed on my mom's side of the car before flipping over and spinning into the ditch. I was fine, but my mom ended up with broken ribs, a broken leg, and her heel was crushed. I ended up getting my stitches while she was getting emergency surgery. After she came back from the hospital, my mom was stuck in a wheelchair for a long time. She gained a lot of weight and fell into a depression. Once she got walking, she still struggled to lose the weight. By the time I was in middle school, she thought it would be a good idea to try methamphetamine. It wasn't. She lost some weight, but her personality changed. My folks split up and got so fed up with each other that both of them stopped coming home most nights. My dad would drop by once every week or two and leave me some grocery money. I spent about 8 months like that, walking a couple miles back and forth to the store each week and living alone. At least the bills got paid. I ended up on probation for skipping so much school that year and had to lie about the reasons in front of the judge so my folks wouldn't get in trouble. I ended up forced to do summer school, passing, and being held back anyway as a sort of FU, do what you're told. I dropped out, got my GED, and still got into college after a couple years, so no big deal I guess. My mom ignored me, unless I was doing something I shouldn't. She had full custody, so even though my dad was great, he never saw me and didn't have much of an influence. Because of this I didn't try in school, because I didn't think anyone cared whether I did well or not. In math class, 7th grade, I was failing, and my teacher took me aside and had a come to Jesus talk with me. I didn't necessarily care at that point, but I didn't want to get held back a grade either, so I tried to at least pass. Got a really good mark on a test, and that teacher gave me a hug and said she was really proud of me and that I was a really bright kid. That kind of positive affirmation really jump-started something inside me, and I tried from then on. Did well in math and science. Now I'm a nurse specialist in my field. I get consulted in 2 major city hospitals. I wonder how many lives those compassionate teachers touch on the daily. I was suffering from PTSD and depression. I wanted to leave my marriage, and I had set up an apartment and had a storage unit. My husband had no idea what I was planning. A week before I planned to leave him, I was visiting my friend that lived 4 hours away. My friend told my husband my plan, and that same day he drove all that way to be with me. He showed up wearing his wedding clothes, holding a bouquet of roses. At that time, I was over-medicated, and my thought process was so negative. I wanted to leave everything I held dear to my heart. After intense therapy and a decrease of medication, I'm a whole different person. If it wasn't for my friend telling my husband and getting the help I needed, I would have been in that dark place for God knows how long. I hope things worked out between you and your husband. Yes, we are still happily married. I've suffered with BPD for most of my life. My teen years were when it started to peak, and my last manic episode woke me up to realize that I'm not my mental illness and I need help. I was becoming someone I couldn't even recognize. I wanted to go back to my roots and become the person I need to be for me, for my love, for my family, because I was hurting everyone around me with my destructive tendencies. I got into therapy, I meditate, 5-second rule for impulsive decisions, and I journal. I'm happy where I'm now, but I'm still growing. The moment after he collapsed on the floor and said I can't take it anymore, and I had to comfort him. He had just coerced me into having sex with him because he thought I wanted to be with someone else. He did it while I was crying, snot and all, trying to tell him it wasn't true. That moment I realized how abusive and manipulative he was. I knew for a while, but it didn't really sink in. I had a moment of clarity saying, I should be the one hurting right now. Could he be the one hurting when I've done everything to save this relationship? I shouldn't have to comfort him after what he just did. I took him back to work with the promise of a warm dinner when he gets back, since I already told work I wasn't coming back. I sped to work, and my boss had 2 of my techs help me move in less than an hour. I left more than my spouse that day. I left a job that had me paved to a lucrative career. Having to leave my job hurt me more in the long run, since I haven't been able to find anyone else willing to invest in me, even if I have proven myself and commended. That being said, I'm okay now, and I'm not giving up. You should be proud of yourself for recognizing that you were being abused and manipulated, and then having the strength to remove yourself from the situation. I'm glad you're doing better, and I wish you well. It was the moment I realized that my only friend didn't actually care about me and had been using me and abusing me for years. It was the same moment I realized that all the effort I had been putting into rescuing our friendship had been ignored, and the only thing I could do was walk away and restart my life. Which is what I did. It took nearly half a decade, but I finally got to a better place. Although I still struggle with the trust issues that being betrayed by the only person I trusted brought me. I have a similar story. In elementary school, my friends would laugh at me constantly, and seemingly the whole school would come up with mean chants to sing, or shout in the halls, and on the playground. I didn't like the chanting, even then, but I literally couldn't tell that my friends were abusing me. When my parents divorced, I got moved to a new elementary school, and a similar thing started happening. I met a real friend, but then was so heavily teased about a guy being my only friend, I'm a girl BTW, that I just abandoned him, although we reconnected and are now good friends. I would say the big turning point was when I met these 2 charismatic, caring individuals who really helped me with finding toxic people and avoiding them, as well as how to make friends. These 2 angels are probably the only reason I have any real friends at all. I wish I still had them in my life. Both moved away after middle school, and I have these memories largely blocked until I ask myself why I'm so shy/am scared of indirect communication. I'm considering writing all into a journal so that whenever I need/want to remember, it's not so overwhelming that I need a couple hours to recover. I'm pretty sure I have undiagnosed PTSD from the bullying. Yes, I think so. It's quite interesting to look back, isn't it? I was quite a chill teenager, fun and easygoing. I had a lot of friends actually. My best friend came out as gay. I was supportive. He took me out drinking, and I met a guy there who was older. He was charming, and I was drunk, so I left to get a taxi and the guy walked me out. We walked a block, then he pushed me into a car park and roped me and pushed me down, and I hit my head. I still have a little scar. I never told anyone, and I changed a lot since then. I was really mean to my friend. He had to change schools because I bullied him and turned everyone against him. I slept around a bit and let people use me. Then I closed off from everyone. I'm still homophobic and not super chill or friendly anymore. I'm quite angry. Dropping out of college due to crippling anxiety and really struggling in my tax classes, which killed any interest I had in accounting, what I was studying. Became somewhat deadbeat living with my parents. Meeting my now fiance, who, ironically, worked tech support at the college I went to. We met on a dating website, not on campus. She had also dropped out of college due to struggling in early CIS classes. She went on to work at a hotel as a receptionist, and then moved on to watching security cameras at a casino after the hotel she worked at had a shootout situation between the police and a guest in a room. I went on to do odd contracting jobs online, because my crippling anxiety kept me from finding a real job. We eventually realized that in order for us to achieve our dream of owning a house and family, we need to do something with our careers outside of her bouncing between entry-level jobs and me needing to learn an actual skill. My brother helped her get a job at a tech/banking company he works at, one that's known for treating employees very well, and vertical progression being really encouraged. She started in the call center, but she's on track to move up to a lucrative traveling/installation job in December. I started self-teaching web development last fall, with a lot of guidance from my brother. I'm aiming to start profiting from this by the end of the year. I also wouldn't call my anxiety crippling anymore, although it's still there. We are getting married in October, and we are looking to buy a house in the winter. We are in Missouri. Housing is cheap here. I think this can all be traced back to me dropping out of college. The moment my mother flat out told me everything wrong with me was a direct result of my birth father's genetics. He's a horrible man, but it's not his fault that I'm the way I am. My mother was the one who shaped me as a person, not him. So I started laughing. She's furious. We were having our last big argument before they kicked me out and demanded to know what I thought was so funny. I stared at her, smiled, and retorted that maybe it wasn't my genetics that screwed me over in life and made me such a horrible person. Maybe, just maybe, there was a slim chance that it was her fault. She messed up when parenting, and it was no one's fault but hers. For once in my life, she was speechless. And I decided then and there that I was leaving as soon as I could and I'd never go back. Luckily I didn't have to wait long. They threw me out, which still hurt a lot, even though I knew it was my chance to be free. And once they cooled down and wanted me back, gave me a choice: stay with my friend's family or come back home. You'll always be our little girl. We forgive you. You can come home and we'll forget this mess ever happened, etc, etc. I laughed, basically said nah, I'm good thanks, and I've never been happier.